Hello, and welcome to part 2 of our conversation with Kate Polga, a writing tutor in the Academic Tutoring Center at Asnuntuck. We continued our conversation by discussing some of the issues that can occur when relying solely on a cell phone for internet connection while studying.
Sometimes that's the only thing available, which is fine. But if you can not do it exclusively on your phone, that's always ideal.
Yes. Right. Yeah. If you're trying to create a space that, like most ideal, what would it look like, Kate? Like, what would you think about?
A space that's most ideal, one with a door. Seriously, privacy would be the most if you can. So somewhere where you can be undisturbed and you don't think about it, but the temperature? Are you going to be cold? Do you know I don't want to be sitting for an hour studying and then realize you're shivering.
Right.
Right? That's not good for you either. Yeah. So somewhere where it's a controlled climate, yeah, or you have a sweater, it's going to be cold. I also think that having an awareness, I know I said don't have your phone right there, but everyone has a computer, or you could set a timer, something so that you have the means to time yourself and limit it, because that's the other thing I see students studying for way too long. The chunks are way too long. You shouldn't study for too long in one go. Take breaks. It's so important. So, and then have a plan for taking a break is another part of, even in your space. Do you have a yoga ball that you could go and just sit on and bounce around on for a couple of minutes while you're taking a break?
Yeah. And I would say also it would be helpful to have everything that you need readily available right then and there. If you have a drink of water, have your pencil, your paper, have everything that you need, so that you're not getting into the mix of things and all of a sudden realize now I have to go get whatever. And then you just broke your train of thought, and now it's going to take you a little bit longer to get back to it. So make sure you have everything that you need right there.
Make sure that the only thing you're doing is studying during your study time. Don't try to do anything else. Don't be waiting for a phone call. Don't be running a load of laundry at the same time. Really try to do just the studying, so that your mind doesn't have to also be thinking about something else.
That's a good point. We talk about this a lot, with tutoring, right? We think, especially right now, we can do everything all at once, right? And maybe we can, right? Maybe we can multitask, but not always successfully, right? And that's the hard thing to have to accept. But it's not always successful to be, like you say, okay, I'm going to do my laundry and ironing and watch my lecture at the same time. And it's kind of not the way the brain works, right?
I was asking my daughter, who's in college, for some tips, and she said, well, I wouldn't watch a video while trying to finish an art project at the same time. Probably not a good idea. So that didn't work out so well. Right. Example of not doing that. Yeah, not taking on too much. You can multitask, but that's when mistakes are made. Right. And it's never going to be as good. So
right, exactly. There's a trade-off there. Yeah. I think it's become almost like a bragging right. Like, oh, I did 7 different things. I was listening to my lecture while driving to work and having lunch and whatever. Successfully, all of those things you're trying to cram into the same time, it's just not going to be there. So one thing I think the students are really, really missing right now is that, the ability to actually study with someone else, having those study group type things. What would you suggest, Kate, as far as like trying to feel like you're not just out there alone, isolated?
All right, so there's this great vlogger on YouTube who has her own. Her name's Jamie Lee, and she's actually a third year medical resident in New York City, and she records herself studying, and it's amazing because you can just go onto her channel and choose whichever lecture. So she'll have one that's like 4 cycles of 25 minutes of studying with a 5-minute break. And after she has them with music or without. If you do it without music, then after the 25 minutes, a little chime will go off, so you'll know that it's break time. It's really clever. So that you'll look up and you'll see she's right there studying away. It's just different. It gives you that environment. She has ones that are in different libraries and also at home. She's a really cute cat who's in the video. So anyway, that's just a suggestion. She also has a blog where she shares her grid of her actual. I mean, it's a little scary because she's a medical resident, so probably no one's going to go till 3 a.m. I don't recommend that, but she has her time all scheduled, and you can see just what a tremendous amount of time she spent studying. But the breaks are in there. Sleep, eating, exercising, all of that is in there too. So
yeah. And that's the important thing that I think a lot of students forget. They, again, like we had mentioned, they think I'm just going to cram it all in. I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend all of this amount of time studying. And you have to set a schedule. You have to time it out. You have to make sure you have breaks in there. You eat in there, because your brain can't take on all of that over, that long amount of time. You need to give it little respites.
So I like those videos because she has the breaks built in. So like I was saying, I've seen so many students just work way too long and they're frazzled and completely burnt out. Yep. But in those videos, she has the breaks and at the end, lo and behold, you've done an hour of studying and good solid studying, and how much more efficient is that? So
that's great.
I think, Angelina, maybe you'll have that link to her site up on the stress less.
We'll have that in our stress less area. So if students want to just turn that on while they're studying and, kind of have someone to study with, it's a nice option to just have something kind of playing. One thing I did want to touch on, because she does, like you said, she has like a grid with scheduling everything in. And one thing I see a lot of times students will, they know to do that. So they'll kind of like, oh, my final paper is due on the 25th, right? And they kind of have that written down, but they don't have any of the steps before that assignment is due written down, right? So, like, okay, let's say I have 3 weeks until that assignment is due. By the end of the first week, I should have done my research, or second week, I should have done an outline or maybe a draft. Schedule time with a tutor, and those little pieces of the assignment don't get kind of written out. And I think it's important for students to understand that assignments usually work best if they're kind of chunked and spaced out, right? So much of the time students will say, I work better under pressure, and I know it's due on the 24th, so on the 23rd, I'll start writing it. What do you say to that, Kate?
Well, there's some apps available if students are interested in that where they can plug in the assignment, the length of the assignment, the due date, the subject even, and the app will break down just a suggested timetable for you of when you should have what done. So here by day 5, you should have your topic selected, and day 8, completed your research maybe, and day 10, come up with your thesis, that sort of thing. It'll give you an idea of when you should have a rough draft due. Or they're also, like Google has spreadsheets, Google Sheets available. There's one that's, again, that would be more, they have monthly and weekly, daily for your study schedule if you know you have an exam coming up. That can also be helpful.
Yeah.
That's good.
A lot of times students feel like they can't, you know, they have a lot of things to do. They have a lot of responsibilities, you know, work outside of school or young children, and a lot of obligations, right? And then also they're trying to kind of fit in social, you know, as social as we can be, right? Social activities as well. But what do you say to that, Kate? Like when students are, well, I promised my friend I'd go X place with them, and even though I know I have my final Monday morning, right?
Right. So those suggestions I had just given were for more specific assignment-oriented things. So if it's in general, and also if you don't like having if having a set schedule for a paper scares you for some reason too, you know, it's a good idea to maybe just keep a general to-do list and go. And you can actually have, yes, it's okay to have your friends on that to-do list so that you don't forget. And they're just make a list of all the things you would like to get done. Try to prioritize maybe 2 or 3 in a day is a good, 3 is probably a good goal to have in a day. Try to get to those, but I would say don't feel bad if you don't accomplish all of those. Don't say, I have to get this done, unless it's a sort of a drop dead deadline for an assignment. Don't feel bad if you don't get it done. Use whatever works for you. If it's a whiteboard where you write down, you know, call your friend or take a coffee, make sure take a coffee break with, go for a walk with a friend. Yeah, incorporate that into it, and don't feel bad if yes, you're studying, but you need to balance. So it is okay. The other thing you could do is wait and use that as a reward. Okay, after I finish this 2 hours of studying, I'm going to go for a walk with my friend, and then you'll have something to look forward to.